Work in the police does not have to be stressful. Even when we're dealing with prisoners, when we're against timescales, it doesn't have to come from that place of rush, panic and stress. And I always used to think it did. And I've literally just been dealing with someone for the last couple of days, and I've got to say, it's been a brilliant team effort. And I think that's the big difference for me now. Since I've worked a lot on my perfectionism and all of that, I find I'm more willing to, I love being that part of a team where other people are doing things. Whereas before I used to love it, I used to love that team effort, but I always used to be thinking, oh, I need to be doing this, I need to be doing this. And dropping that has been really, really beneficial. But yes, I want to speak to you today because yesterday was a very, very different experience. Normally when I used to deal with sort of people that we were going to remand, keep in custody, I probably had a similar experience to what you have now, where it felt like you're up against the clock, no time for anything, feeling stressed, and then you get it done, you feel sort of quite exhausted, and then you normally come home, resort to eating some sort of crappy junk food, having a drink, and then when it goes into your rest days, you feel quite tired. And then what I would find is that was fine for the first few years because I didn't mind, but as I got kids and stuff like that, and that was eating into my rest days, I used to feel quite resentful. I went through a period where I was quite resentful and bitter towards the job, and it just made me be negative and cynical, which I knew was never really me. It's not how I wanted to be. But what I've come to realise is there's another way, because it's not the amount of work that really burns us out. It's the energy that we do that work from. It's as simple as that. Yes, we have physical tiredness. I obviously got physically tired yesterday, but that emotional tiredness, is the one that really exhausts us and not being able to switch off. Or when we're working from that place of we're not going to get it done. Oh, there's so much to do. That working from that place of anxiety and overwhelm is really what burns us out. And yesterday, it was really strange. I think yesterday was the calmest I've ever been whilst dealing with someone who were remanding and were against timescales. And there's potentially a lot to do and a lot at stake. Because that's the thing that I find, like when there's a lot at stake, that's when those feelings really come up. And it actually felt quite strange being that calm. I mean, I think I've been working on that for years, and I felt, but that type time scale is always something that would trigger something in me. But actually working from this sort of calmer place, you realise how productive you are, and you're so solution focused. You just deal with every problem as it comes up. It's not like I used to be, where if I was feeling sort of like thinking I wasn't going to get it all done and feeling sort of quite panicky, then every little problem would go, oh no, and then it'd be it would sort of throw you off. And someone actually said to me as we were waiting for the Crown Prosecution Service to come back, and as we all know, it always seems to go to the knuckle, doesn't it? Always right to the last few minutes. And they said, you're not panicking. And I was like, well, what good does panicking do now? The panic in the present moment doesn't help anything. Now, it's not that I don't have those feelings come up, but it's just now I just don't buy into them. It's very natural. It's not like you're some sort of Zen Buddha master that just goes, oh, just don't care about anything. I have those feelings come up, those nerves, the stress, the anxiety, but they come and they go. And I realise that actually they're part of the process. And it's not actually the job that is doing that. Sorry, my boy's crunching cereal in the background. No, but it's not actually the job that's doing that. It's my thoughts about it. It's my thoughts about it that is doing that. It's my brain doing its job. It's like going and predicting this future, predicting something that's going wrong, and it's bringing it into the present and saying, like, we've got to do something. But the problem is, those emotions were great when we were faced with real danger that we had to run from and fight like saber-toothed tigers and that. But now, what we need to do is like focus all our attention on detail and case files and be working at intricacies and working efficiently. And suddenly, stress and panic has us doing the opposite. It has us sort of not taking in information and worrying about the future and not being focused on the present. So it actually has the opposite effect. And it's learning, for me, it's learning to control that and knowing where it's come from has really made a difference to the police. And for me, what it's done is it's given me my love back for the job. Like I said, I went through a few years back in probably between sort of 2018 for a few years where I was really quite negative. Sorry, my boy doesn't realise that he could just leave the cereals out of the box. He doesn't have to crunch them quite as much. Yeah, and I got where I was really quite sort of negative and cynical towards it. But now I've got that love back because I'm not working from that negative energy all the time. And as they come up, I'm knowing where they come from and letting it pass. And we ended up yesterday having a great team effort, getting someone remanded who really needs to be remanded. And actually, when I finished, it was like, it didn't feel like it hasn't eaten into my rest days. We've had 2 days of 14, 15-hour shifts. It hasn't eaten, I don't feel massively exhausted. I can now spend time with my kids. And we're going off and doing stuff today. Whereas before I'd have felt like my mind would have been worrying about the job. And I realised that the worry and all those fears of the future, they're just so unproductive and they don't help. Like now, if I've realised that if something's on my mind, I can either do something about it or I can manage that mind not to. There's no point just sitting here worrying about it. And a big part of what's really helped me is learning to focus on what I can control and letting go of those things. And I've learned this concept from Jack Canfield where he says about having high intention and low attachment. And that is like you put all this effort in and you put everything in and you'll get the enjoyment. And this is the thing, you get the enjoyment out of the doing. If you want to learn more about that, listen to Andrew Huberman's podcast, where you actually get the enjoyment out of the doing. That becomes the reward. Because if you do all these things and like you work long days and you're working 14, 15-hour days trying to get bad people locked up and then they go to court and they get released or they get sort of found not guilty at court, a lot of people can go, oh, well, that was a waste of time. And it suddenly detracts from all the good work you've done. And I know yesterday was some of the best work I've done. Like, it wasn't all on the plate, the evidence. You're doing proper detective work. You're looking at videos, you're seeing bits of stuff that you've got to go and find to prove that that's the person in there. And you think that is being a detective. That is it. But you realise regardless of the outcome of that job, you've still done that good work. Because what happens is, what I found, is when you are so attached to the outcome, when you're so attached to it, and what happens is you'll put loads of effort in, and then you don't get the outcome you want, and the next time you're a bit like, oh, what's the point? Or you do it because you think you have to do it, but you're doing it from a really negative energy. And then that leads to burnout. And that is where I was. When you suddenly go, actually, the reward is in the doing, and you look at all what you've achieved, and then you let go of the things that aren't in your control. Because you don't have much choice, really. You know, you have got a choice. You can stress about all the things, like now this guy's going to be in court, and they may let him out. Now, if I don't worry about that and stress about it, does it mean I don't care? Absolutely not. But I think that's sometimes what people think. Well, it sort of shows you care. And I thought, well, actually, if I'm sat here worrying about something that's completely out of my control, that's going to happen anyway, because if I can influence it, let's go and do it. But I know I've done everything I can to get that result. Then if I'm doing that, I'm not present with my family. And it's just like the time is wasted. So what I want you to start doing is sort of really focusing on the work you're doing, having that high intention and letting go. And then what I'm going to do is show you as we listen to these videos is going through and how to manage those feelings when they come up, because there's nothing wrong that you feel nervous, you feel stress, feel anxiety. I felt all of that over the last couple of days doing this job, but I haven't bought into those stories, I haven't bought into those feelings. And this is what's given me my energy back, and that's what I want to share with you. So have a great one, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.